Today we are going through another ultimate tier list, not another ultimate tier list. All right, so for this tier list specifically, I chose console RPG games. So basically, console role playing games, like games like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. Borderlands was kind of like action role playing, still had a lot of role playing mechanics in it. Fable 2, classic. Fable 1 was a classic too, but I chose Fable 2 over Fable 1 because Fable 2 I thought was a little bit more advanced, but we'll go into it. All right. So sit back, relax, I don't know, get some popcorn or something, and enjoy the video. So, going ahead and starting into it. Fable 2, dude. Okay, so Fable 1 was so cool back in the day. A bit rudimentary during its time, especially with the creator. I forgot what the creator's name was, but he would always do like, I don't know if you guys ever watched like E3 and stuff, but like he would always do like these weird stunts with like AI before AI was a thing. The release of like Fable 3, but Fable 3 never existed until Fable 3 existed and stuff like that. He was a weird dude, but like the Fable, specifically Fable 1 and Fable 2, I think were kind of, I don't want to say ahead of its time. I think it was made at the right time and it was just well polished. Specifically Fable 2. Fable 1 had a lot of the growing mechanics of being a boy in like middle age England essentially, and you had the ability to like shoot fireballs, and like you had bow and arrow, you had the sword and stuff like that. Typical RPG classic stuff. But I think really Fable 2 was where everything started to really take a footing. And so in Fable 2, you grow up, so you're no longer a boy. You're now, I think I want to say probably about not middle aged. I mean, I think there is the aging mechanic in Fable 2. I haven't played in a while, but correct me if I'm wrong. And I know for a fact that there was the good versus evil mechanic, which was huge back in the day because a lot of games were trying to focus on those kind of like um, create your own story kind of mechanic, and the actions that you do in the game actually affected who you were as a character by the end of the game. And that ultimately led up to one of the final decisions at the end of the game where you're supposed to like save somebody or like save yourself and stuff like that. And I think the overall story of Fable 2 was pretty decent. Comparatively to Fable 1, yeah, way better. But just the addition of spells, the good versus evil mechanic. Oh, you know what? I should have added Oddworld. I don't really think Oddworld is a role playing game necessarily. It's more action, but still. So, like, anyway, because Fable 2 reminds me a little bit of Oddworld. Just that kind of like, um, just that kind of like weird, like British, and Oddworld's like weird Western, just that kind of appeal almost. And Fable 2 was really one of those games where it was kind of groundbreaking in the dialogue and in the dialogue, like choose your own adventure uh, style of gameplay. Even though it was extremely limited, like if you think about it from nowadays, especially with games like Skyrim stuff, like Fable 2's overarching story was fairly limited into about three different scopes. But, you know, at the time when it came out, I think that was like 2007, 2008, or 2009. I could be wrong. But at the time when it came out, like, it was kind of revolutionary in the console genre of classic role playing RPG games. And so I'm going to put Fable 2, we're going to put Fable 2 over in tier A. We're going to start off strong. Fable 2 was a really, really decent game when it originally came out. And, like, we'll go into the other titles that it was actually competing against, which is why I put it in tier A, because it wasn't necessarily S tier. Like, it was a good game, but don't play yourself. Like you're not that good, you know. And let's go into Oblivion. Oblivion is a classic Elder Scrolls uh, video game. I don't. There's nothing really much more to it. I actually put Morrowind down here too. Morrowind came out for the original Xbox, and as I guess as vanilla or like as it was essentially just a 3D space of role playing adventure. Now, granted, Morrowind for its time had a ton of spells and a ton of questing. We're just gonna go ahead and we're just gonna uh, basically compare Oblivion to Morrowind, and you'll see why. So Morrowind, and I love the Elder Scrolls franchise. I'm a huge fan of Skyrim, of Oblivion, not necessarily so much Elder Scrolls Online. Morrowind itself, I think it was based in Tamriel, and it was all just like elves, basically. And like the coolest piece of gear that you could get was like the elven gear, which was like the green glass gear and stuff like that. It was fine, but it wasn't necessarily something too cool, especially for its time. You know, you really, especially as a kid, like you really had to like dig down and stuff like that, and really had to get into the story. So I'm gonna put Morrowind in C tier, but Oblivion kind of upped the ante a little bit on gameplay, on game mechanics, on spells, which is one of my favorite aspects of any role playing game. I usually play the wizard class, so like if I can play the wizard class and I could be awed and amazed by just like the look, the gameplay of the spells and stuff like that, and I think that's what Skyrim really enhanced it with was the spell play. Even though there was a limited range of spells, maybe about 20 spells in total. I mean, you could mix and match spells. You can summon atriarchs and stuff like that, which was really really cool. And Oblivion kind of had that same style of gameplay. I think Oblivion was where uh, the roots of what Skyrim was based off of really started to flourish. And the campaign itself, I remember it being relatively short, but overall, the expansion of the world, you know, the ability to, I guess, do a whole bunch of quests and stuff, because there was a ton of quests in Oblivion. Uh, I don't know if there were more quests in Oblivion than there were in Morrowind necessarily, because Morrowind felt like forever, but Oblivion was just more, I guess, grounded and more centered. Um, and so I'm going to put Oblivion in the A tier. Oblivion goes A tier, hands down. Dragon Age, dude, Dragon Age Origins. Now, so Dragon Age Origins was both a top-down and third-person, I believe. I could be wrong, but Dragon Age Origins was definitely a top-down role-playing game, kind of like Divinity, and kind of like Diablo. Um, Now, Dragon Age had its own world. It had its own universe. I think it was loosely based off of like Dungeons and Dragons. I could be wrong, but um, Dragon Age Origins. I used to play Dragon Age Origins as a kid, and you basically get to choose one main character. It's either a warrior or an archer or a spellcaster. I think it was a druid class. I'm not too sure. And then you basically gain companions on the way, and you could also control those companions separately, but they weren't the main character, right? And so there were very distinct characters. Like one was an archer, one was like a witch and stuff like that that could transform into like a spider and stuff. And the story was decent. I think Dragon Age Origins, it's an EA game, right? So the thing about EA is that EA, especially back then, and I don't know about nowadays, but back then definitely, you know, this was during the age of Battlefront, and this was Dragon Age Origins came out before EA was like super super money hungry with like loot boxes and stuff like that. Um, I can only count how many expansions there are for The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, right? And then on top of that, how much they actually cost per expansion, ridiculous. So definitely, Electronic Arts, the makers of like Madden and all of the FIFA games and stuff like that, they definitely went money hungry like for a good long period of time. So much so that it was literally like a decade's worth of like nonstop hate, especially from like Game Informer and stuff. I don't know about like Game Informer specifically, but like a lot of top tier um, game commentarists were basically like, yo, EA, what's going on? Essentially, Dragon Age Origins. Back to the game itself, you know, for its time, it was actually pretty well diverse in questing specifically. The gameplay itself was rather limited, um, especially for a console. You're using the buttons on the controller, which I'm not necessarily too sure if Dragon Age Origins was made for PC specifically, but trying to port over a RPG game with a vast array of combat mechanics onto a console, it's never really easy. It's always kind of finicky because there's so many different variations of, I guess, attacks or spells or just combat moves in general to choose from, and by porting it over to a console, you're very limited, right? And so that's why I like these other titles, because they kind of simplify it. But Dragon Age Origins, regardless, was still a really, really. I think Dragon Age Origins was its own. It was its own franchise, like Dragon Age, the Dragon Age franchise, basically. Um, but regardless, I think overall it was a pretty decent video game, especially growing up. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in the B tier. I don't think Dragon Age Origins was necessarily that good, but it was pretty decent, just with its customization and its spells and its overall gameplay for a top-down game, a top-down Diablo-style game coming out on console. Back then, it was one of the only ones. So for it, in the time being, can't go wrong. Kingdom Hearts. Now I put Kingdom Hearts 1, not Kingdom Hearts 2, although Kingdom Hearts 2 was better with the spells, better with the combat, better with the overall gear, the keyblades. Um, Kingdom Hearts 1 with Square Enix was really what set it off. I don't know that many people who are about the same age as me that didn't play Kingdom Hearts in some way, shape, or form. My only gripe with Kingdom Hearts, the franchise, the series, uh, is was that Kingdom Hearts 3 didn't come out till about 15 years later, right? And other than that, that's my only gripe. Let's go into what I loved about Kingdom Hearts. Dude, so growing up as a kid, Kingdom Hearts was really just awe inspiring. It was a blend of familiar faces in this kind of pseudo Japanese world, right? And so you play as his main character, Sora, and something about Keyblades, something about like missing your sister, and something about like your friend Riku being like half of you, but like also pulling like a Sephiroth move, where it's just like he must destroy you because it is like his purpose to show you that you can be better or something like that. Cause like Final Fantasy, especially for a kid, like it's so complex. It takes full on nerds for like I guess a 12-year-old to be able to understand the mechanics or the even like the storyline of a Final Fantasy game. Dude, when I was growing up, you throw any Final Fantasy game at me, and I'd be like, "What is this?" You know what I'm saying? Because it was just so like out of scope. You definitely have to be a little more mature to understand the Final Fantasy franchise as itself. The only Final Fantasy game I will say that was really, really, really cool was Dirge of Cerberus. Final Fantasy VII, Dirge of Cerberus. Now, there's two Final Fantasy VIIs. There's Final Fantasy VII, and then there's Final Fantasy VII, Dirge of Cerberus. Dirge of Cerberus was the action version of the Final Fantasy franchise, and so that was one of the first like real-time action games that they wanted to test out and bring out to the public to see whether or not like action mechanics in a Final Fantasy franchise would actually work. Dirge of Cerberus was one of the old-time fan favorites. It also came out around the same time as the Final Fantasy Advent Children movie. Dude, that movie was freaking sick, dude. That movie was awesome. But back to Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts was really the, I guess the I don't even know. Like, Kingdom Hearts was really one of those games that really just broke the console sphere. It created such a massive cult following that people, till this day, you know, wear the cosplay, wear wield keyblades. You know, that was the biggest thing. Keyblades were massive, you know, and the incorporation of Disney characters, Mickey Mouse, Goofy, Donald Duck, like it was a perfect combination. It was awesome, and so that kind of familiarity with a really cool like backstory and stuff. Kingdom Hearts was one of the games that really created the era, and so Kingdom Hearts goes into S tier, no doubt about it. Kingdom Hearts is an S tier game. Moving on to Fallout 3. Now, Bethesda, dude, I am such a fan of the old Bethesda titles, specifically Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas when they came out on console. Fallout 4 is Fallout 4 is good for the current gen consoles. I believe it came out actually for the 360 and the PS4. Definitely the PS4. I could be wrong, but no, Fallout 4 came out for the Xbox One. 360 would be so old. Fallout 4 definitely came out for the Xbox One and possibly potentially the PS4, and then later on being ported to like the PS5 and so on. Fallout 3 was our first look at a 3D world of post-apocalyptic of a post-apocalyptic era, essentially what it would look like if specifically Washington D.C. had gotten bombed. And I don't know about you, dude, but like as a kid, that was insane. Absolutely wild. The biggest what if scenario, the biggest what if scenario ever since like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real. The Fallout 3 was based entirely on post-war, post-apocalyptic nuclear fallout. What would happen? What would you do? How would you survive? You know, I could never forget one of the first initial fight scenes where you're going into a grocery store, I think for like some sort of quest, and I forgot what the quest was, but it's full of raiders, right? And so there's food in there, there's ammo, there's munition and stuff, but there's raiders, and you got to take out the raiders, right? And that being one of the most iconic uh, quests in any game starting. And like, of course, like you start out in the vault, and you go through kind of like the kind of like a training session in the vault and stuff like that. Like, it's just so iconic. It's one of the original game openers, and there's also Nuketown and stuff like that. Like, it's one of the original. It's just one of the OG games of specifically Xbox, because a lot of people played Fallout 3 on Xbox. It's one of those OG games that forever goes down in history, where it's just like that was one of the games that landmarked the Xbox console itself, you know. And so I find that Fallout 3 was just one of the best games for console, but also one of the best introductories into open world role playing experiences. And it completely broke the role playing genre itself by putting people in a what if scenario instead of the typical like warrior, rogue, archer, wizard kind of like classes. Fallout 3 goes in S tier. Fallout New Vegas. Now, I played Fallout New Vegas. I'll still play Fallout New Vegas. That's how good Fallout New Vegas was. Comparatively to Fallout 4, I'll play Fallout New Vegas any day. I played Fallout 3 more recently, a couple of years ago, and I played the entire game. But Fallout New Vegas, I can just sit down, start up the Xbox, start up the Xbone, put in Fallout New Vegas, and just get to work. Like, all the expansions, no matter what, any time of the day, I could just sit down and play some Fallout New Vegas. Now, Fallout New Vegas is interesting because it's a story that's a little bit more different than Fallout. You know, in Fallout 3, you're essentially like you're from a vault, and you know you have to explore this crazy world that just got hit by a nuke. You know what I'm saying? But like Fallout New Vegas, like you're already living in the world of Fallout. Essentially, you're a courier, a mail courier that was delivering packages, and then I think his name was Benny or something like that. But basically, this dude and his goons take you out and they bury you. Turns out that you survived, and you're on this ravenous rampage to take out the dude that tried to kill you, right? And you ultimately get that chance, but there's so much more. You know, like there's so many different factions involved. The cons, I don't want to call them the Imperium, but like basically the Roman Empire, the makeshift Roman Empire. You have two different, I think two or three different factions of military, right? And then you also have aliens. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so crazy and so out of there. A lot of the times, and the expansions really made up for it. Sierra Madre, dude, like I think it was. I don't think it was called Sierra Madre. I think it was called like it was basically the dude that was like wrapped in gauzes and stuff, where you get all those gold bars at the end and stuff like that, dude. Like there was so many expansions and stuff. Like I think one of them was based in Detroit or something like that. It's just so wild, and you know, for a game to have so many different quest items to just keep you in the loop at all times so that you're just experiencing the world itself. That's really what Fallout New Vegas was. Fallout 3 was to experience a what if scenario, and Fallout New Vegas was okay, you're in this world, what are you going to do? How are you going to make yourself? You know what I'm saying? There's so many different avenues. Now, uh, my also another big thing that I loved about Fallout New Vegas was that the quest lines, they were so like whoa, like gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Like there were so many different plot twists and different ways of going about things, like the cannibals or the dude that was living in essentially a capsule because it was burned to a crisp and stuff like that. You know, I just think Fallout New Vegas was really what tied the franchise together. Although it wasn't even really a main Fallout game, you know. And that's what's crazy about it. It's not even a main Fallout game, but it was kind of what determined Fallout itself, you know. And so I really loved Fallout New Vegas. I still to this day love Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas is a definite S tier game. Let's go. On to the next one, Mass Effect. Mass Effect. So, for my primitive monkey brain at the age of 12, you know, I played Mass Effect. Now, I give Mass Effect a lot of high regards because Mass Effect was huge beyond recognition, especially at the time. You know, you have games like No Man's Sky where they procedurally generate new planets and stuff. These people made Mass Effect by hand, dude. All of those planets that you could explore and just dibble dabble in, these people crafted that, right? And I think that's really what sets the game apart from a lot of games that are out today. You know, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 was all right at best, but Mass Effect 2 even better. But Mass Effect the original, dude, Mass Effect the original was really like Captain Shepard, like such a badass uh, main character in this expansive universe of different races, different campaigns, different quest lines. Um, I will say that the weapon system was a little limited, but like they added a whole bunch of different abilities to the combat system, which is what really made it thrive. Like you could be psychic, you know what I'm saying? Like how could you? That's impossible. Vanguard, which is basically like using technology as a defensive maneuver. You know, like Mass Effect, the storyline really good, better than decent, really good. Top tier, not necessarily. Um, the combat system, pretty decent. Top tier, not necessarily. The uh, character customization, plain. The companion system, kind of cool. You know, there were, I guess, oh, the dialogue. The dialogue options. See, this is where really Mass Effect shined. Was that the dialogue tree was expansive for its time, right? And so there was a ton of dialogue options that you could be able to choose from in order to actually change your story and kind of create your own story. And that's what I really liked about Mass Effect. And so Mass Effect itself, the original, that's A tier. On to the next. Now, this one is a classic. I don't know if you guys, I don't know a lot of guys know about Jade Empire. Jade Empire was originally one of the first. Dude, I remember going to Blockbuster and renting Jade Empire because I was like, what is this? Dude, Jade Empire was one of the first, like, role playing games for the Xbox itself. I think it was an Xbox original. Not like Xbox original, but I think it was an Xbox only title. I could be wrong. But Jade Empire was basically like this. It's been so long since I played it, but Jade Empire was basically like this Chinese role playing game where you played as this main character going on quest, yada yada yada, but like in a Chinese world, and like you basically you could use like a spear, and I think there were like a couple of spells that you could use, fire spells and stuff like that. But as a kid playing this game, it was just really really cool to experience in a really really cool world to get into. I don't have much to say about it, so we're gonna put that in B tier purely for nostalgia. Jade Empire is a role playing game. If you ever get the chance to experience it, experience it. It's been years since I've played it. Dude, I didn't even look it up because I was just like, I'll throw it in there, you know? But like, it was a really cool game for its time. I can guarantee you, if you play it now, you'll probably be like, what is this? But like, back then, it was pretty cool. Borderlands, the original Borderlands. Borderlands is an action role playing game. It's got a ton of customization, specifically in the newer games. It's got a ton of customization. Now, the original Borderlands had a ton of weapon choices, relatively, um, and it also had specific skill trees that you could utilize via which character you actually selected. Borderlands, the series itself, I'm not a huge fan of. I never really was a fan. You can check my YouTube video. I played Borderlands 3 uh, probably about a year and a half ago. Borderlands 4 just came out, um, and it's got mixed reviews. Like, not a lot of people are playing it. I mean, the Borderlands franchise, it was pretty cool the first game and the second one. And then after the third one, I played the story for the third one. It was kind of, it was low quality. Like, the storyline, it was really just a setup for for Borderlands 4. But then, like, Borderlands 4 Borderlands 4 comes along, And I looked at the trailer and stuff, and I don't see any remnants of Borderlands 3 at all. And so, for me, Borderlands, the series itself, low quality, low tier. Borderlands 1, for the hype behind it and stuff like that. A lot of people loved it. Me personally, I couldn't have ever gotten into it. So I'm gonna put this is gonna be a shocker, but I'm gonna put Borderlands in nah, just because it was kind of like a role playing game. It was more so an action adventure open world game, and like a lot of people loved Borderlands. I just never got into it. It wasn't a game for me, and that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Divinity 2, moving on. So Divinity 2 Original Sin, like Dragon Age, Divinity 2 Original Sin was another top-down role-playing game for the console. And so back then, essentially, oh, you know what I should have put on here? Two Worlds. Oh, dude, Two Worlds. Two Worlds beats Divinity 2 Original Sin and Dragon Age Origins, hands down. Like, there's no, you know what? Let's get it real quick. Worlds 2 PS3. Dude, I don't think you guys understand, like, how awesome Two Worlds was back in the day. It was one of the, like, major role-playing games of its time. Not a lot of people liked Two Worlds 2. People hated Two Worlds 2. Like, I don't understand why, but, like, Two Worlds 2 was so good. And I could never understand why. But Divinity 2 Original Sin, you know what? We're just gonna go ahead and rank Divinity 2 Original Sin. We'll put that in a C tier. But let's go into Two Worlds. So Two Worlds was one of my first ever, like, full experience role-playing games for a console. Two Worlds 2, dude, like, you could customize how your character looks, just like in the Oblivion games. You could customize the items that your character, well, not customize the items that your character wears, but the character, like the wearable items actually showed on your character. And that Two Worlds 2 was really one of the first games that for the console that really emphasized that, like, and that's one of my biggest things, like, especially with, like, the Final Fantasy series. Like, why would you get gear and your character not show the gear that you just got? You know what I'm saying? Like, that makes no sense. If you equip gear, like, your character should show the gear equipped. Duh, right? And Two Worlds 2 really perfected that system. And not only that, but, like, the storyline, the questing, the open world experience, all of that bundled into a game that not a lot of people know about. Two Worlds 2 was so good back in the day. Like, I would play that game all the time, And so, if you ever get the chance to check out Two Worlds 2, check it out, dude. Divinity 2 Original Sin Garbo compared to Two Worlds 2, dude. Two Worlds 2, S tier, easy, no question about it. BioShock. So BioShock is, again, technically just like Borderlands, technically action, more so action horror, but there are elements of role playing in the game itself. What I define as elements of role playing for specifically BioShock itself was the fact that you're playing as a character. You have, I think there was the ability to upgrade skills, but there definitely was the ability to upgrade spells. And so I think that kind of puts BioShock into the action adventure territory, but also a little bit of the role playing territory itself. I love the franchise. BioShock by I think it's 2K. The BioShock franchise itself, I didn't like BioShock 2 necessarily, but BioShock Infinite. All right, so I will talk about BioShock Infinite in another video. Amazing. Regardless of what anybody has to say about BioShock Infinite, dude, BioShock Infinite was one of the best games of the 2012 era. Like 2010 to 2015, that time, BioShock Infinite, hands down, one of the best games ever created. I don't care about the publicity of the failed marketing, because the marketing was showing, like, parts of like cinematics of like what should have occurred in the game, but never actually did occur in the game. Dude, I don't care. Bioshock Infinite storyline was so good, it brought me to tears. But I digress. Bioshock, the original, was one of the horror style action adventure games that would make me quiver as a child. This was on the same scale as playing like Doom 3. Okay. Bioshock itself, like, dude, you're in this underwater world with a whole bunch of lunatics running around, and they just pop up at any given corner trying to attack you or stab you and stuff like that. And it's your job to get through and try to make it so that you can. I think your purpose was to like discover some sort of like secrets of. I keep thinking Comstock. Comstock was the original villain for Bioshock Infinite, but essentially the villain from Bioshock, you're basically trying to get some secrets or whatever to discover, and then you're going back up to the surface, right? Originally, the underwater world was essentially a safe haven for the rich and wealthy, and a new way to live, which was entirely underwater, right? It was a full city underwater, and with the incorporation of Big Daddies, the Big Daddies at the time was equivalent to like a Freddy Fazbear in Five Nights at Freddy's. Like that's how scary the Big Daddies were in BioShock. And anytime that you had to go against one of them, it was just a mess because a lot of the times they were so overpowered that you really had to really bob and weave, and you really had to think about how you were going about the game to tackle one of the major bosses of the game itself. And the original Bioshock created such a fanfare, a fan base for the game itself. Again, just like with Kingdom Hearts, people would cosplay as Big Daddies. And I think Bioshock itself was really the introductory to a franchise that would ultimately fail, but at the same time live up to its name and creation. Um, I, I say fail lightly because when was last time from, I think it's BioWare. When was the last time you heard of a game from BioWare since Bioshock Infinite? I don't think there has been one. I could be wrong, but I don't think there has been one. And so it's really a shame that 2K, and I think it was BioWare that created BioShock. Let me look it up. It was 2K Interactive, and I think BioWare was their name too. Who created BioShock? So Irrational Games in 2K. Um, so Irrational Games, you know, I don't know. I'm looking it up right now. I don't know if they. Oh, apparently, there's another game. Apparently, there is a game coming out developed by Cloud Chamber, a studio under 2K. But I mean, since Bioshock Infinite, there wasn't another game that was created since, right? And I think, you know, sucks because Bioshock Infinite was so good. Bioshock 2 was given off to a different publisher, or a different development team entirely, I think. And so that's why Bioshock 2 a lot of people liked it, but it kind of flopped. Like, first of all, it wasn't that scary. They included the Big Sisters, which it's like, okay, give me a break. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was all right, but like on top of that, I think I just said it, but they added multiplayer, um, which I don't know, for a survival horror experience, adding multiplayer to a game such as like Bioshock itself, I think kind of diminishes the fear factor of the game itself. It doesn't make the game scary if there's other people involved. The the thing about Bioshock and why Bioshock was so good was that it was scary and you're alone. It was scary, you're alone, and you could be attacked in any area, and it's entirely dark. And that's what I think. That's why I think Bioshock is so good, and was so good for its time. You have games like Alan Wake and stuff like that. And Alan Wake was a good game, but and I know you know what, Alan Wake was a decent game. I think a lot of people give too much credit to games like Alan Wake. I sincerely do. Like I get it that it was a game based off of a book and stuff like that, like a fiction title, and like the concept was kind of cool. It was kind of like that Jim Carrey movie. I forgot what it was called, but I think it was called like Seven or something like that, or like 42 or something. But you know that Jim Carrey movie where like he's like reading books, he's reading the Bible. It's like 13 or something like that. And like every number, every like word at a specific numbered thing he writes down on the wall and stuff like that. He goes crazy and it's like it's the numbers, and whatever. And then he finds 666 essentially, and whatever. It's a big old spiral. But games like that, like Alan Wake games and stuff like that, have nothing in comparison to the awesomeness, the sheer creativity of the Bioshock franchise, regardless of Bioshock 2. I think Bioshock is an S tier game, and that is just how it goes. So, as far as the S tiers go, you got Kingdom Hearts, got Fallout New Vegas, Two Worlds 2, and Bioshock. A tier, Fable 2, Oblivion, Mass Effect. You know, I, I, something tells me that Oblivion should be S tier, but I'm gonna leave it as A tier. B tier, Dragon Age Origins and Jade Empire, and C tier, Morrowind, Divinity Original Sin 2, and Borderlands. But that's it for this tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, follow, subscribe, and share. And this is No Social. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.